No totem, 1 HP, and a creeper half a second away from exploding right in my face. And the only thing standing between me and losing my entire world, a single piece of bamboo. I began today's episode preparing for a massive build project, but realized I need a ton of farms and thousands of blocks to pull this off. I mean, the project is literally already built in my creative world, I just need the farms and materials for it. And in building the farms, I felt guilty leaving them bland and not decorated, so I decided I would focus on building one of the most aesthetic moss farms I've ever created, since this is one of the first farms on my checklist. But first, I need 7,000 warped logs for this big project, so I started by building a simple wood farm. Okay, so I'm gonna need roughly 2 stacks of building blocks and roughly 2 stacks of slabs and also 25 stripped logs, which I'll go get now. This could be the last time we use our bare hands to chop down a tree. Alright, that was fun. Okay, we got a little bit more than we needed there, but you can never have too much wood, hence why we're making the wood farm. Right, now let's strip the wood. Okay, 25 strip logs done. We also need 2 buckets of water, 11 leaves. We need a boat. There we go. A redstone torch and I think 7 redstone dust. 2 wooden pressure plates, a dropper, and a bunch of hoppers, which I guess we'll need to go to the iron farm for. All right, we have our iron. All right, let's grab some chests. 6 hoppers, done. 2 levers. 12 chests, 10 fence gates. We also need 4 stairs, done. 3 observers, 3 glass panes, 1 sign, 3 pistons. All we need now is a piece of TNT. Pretty easy. That's everything we need. Now we gotta find a space to build the farm. I'm thinking on this little mound here. And I'll probably need to flatten this land out just a little bit. I think down to the level I'm standing at's probably fine. Alright, that's the land excavated. Took less amount of time than I thought it would, but now we can get started on building the actual farm. So let's plop our shulker box here and get to work on this. Okay, that's the outline for the collection part. Oh, very cool. Alright, that was easy. Now we need to build the TNT duper. By the way, how do you guys think I should decorate this tree farm? If you have any good ideas, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Alright, let's give it a test. Please, don't blow up. Cool. Look at that tracing. Can you tell I played Rainbow Six Siege for like 5 years? Anyways, I'm getting distracted. I think the last thing we need to do is build like the sapling return system, and then that's about it. All right, let's tear down the temporary blocks and give it a test. Oh, wait, I just realized we're going to need a constant supply of bone meal to actually run this farm. I guess we can make a quick bone meal farm. I mean, as always, we can't really start building until we have the materials, so cue the montage, I guess. Okay, I think that's more or less everything we need. Let's get building. All All right, I'm thinking of building it in this section here for a particular reason I have in mind, which I'll tell you later. But for now, as long as it's close enough to the river, it should work just fine. And I want to build the farm underneath the ground. So I'm probably going to need to excavate quite a bit. So I'll see you guys when I've dug out the ground. Okie dokie, we've cleared out the area, which means we can start working on the actual farm. I guess I just start building as if this is the ground and then adapt the space accordingly as I need to. And the first step is more mining. Cool. All right, I think that's everything in place. Let's give it a test. I think we need to bone meal this here. Yep, looks like it's working like it should. Okay, so now that the farm's up and running, I'm going to take a bit of time to explain my idea for this build. All right, so the plan is basically I want to have the moss pop out from underneath the river using dispensers. So it's like there's moss generating on the floor of the river and it's flowing downstream, all while the moss man in the moss house is going to collect up all of the moss, turn it into bone meal, and then send it through an underground tunnel to the tree farm. I don't know if I sound absolutely crazy, but that's the idea. And I think the first part in the course of action is to actually build the house, just so you guys can get an idea for how the build is actually going to look. I promise it'll make sense eventually. Okay, the first material I'm going to need is green terracotta. So I think it's time that we visit our first Badlands of the series. I don't think green terracotta spawns naturally, so the game plan here is just to mine up a ton of terracotta and then dye it later on. I should probably get some music on or something. Alright, so we got about 20 stacks there, which is definitely enough for the build. So the only thing we need to do before we head back is get the green dye, which means we're gonna need these. I think we gathered enough here. I'm gonna plant them when we get back home and let them grow out while we collect the rest of the materials. So I think this is fine for now. And we'll just make a temporary little farm here. Nothing permanent. Alright, that should be enough for now. And when we come back, they should be fully grown. Remember a couple of episodes ago when I said I'd add more frogs to the Froglight farm eventually? Well, I need the verdant version of the Froglight. So after planting the cactus, I embarked on a mission to obtain the cool frog variant. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we made it back to the good old swamp. And I think these are our old friends from before. So let's breed them up. Oh, this is nostalgic. Oh, shoot, they hatched. All right, let's collect them up. Wait, can they suffocate without water? Oh my god, they are. No, stop. I should have... I don't know what I was doing there, to be honest. Anyways, let's go back. We have arrived. All right, I'm going to build the portal inside the farm yet again, so that once we hatch the correct frogs in the correct biome, we can send them straight through the portal and into the farm. Oh, not this cave again. All right, so I'm going to mark down the coordinates here and then build a corresponding portal on the nether roof. Okay, so let's light it up, but I'm not going to go through it yet. I'm going to let the frogs hatch first and then take them onto the nether roof and through the portal. Okay, we've made our way to the end because the end is technically one of the biomes that allows tadpoles to hatch into the cold variant of frog. And I think getting them from here to the farm is going to be way easier. So I'm going to AFK here for a bit, and once these hatch, I'll take them through the portal, through another portal, and then another portal to the Froglight farm. Actually, I'm going to build a portal while they hatch. This is the right spot. Okay, wow. Is my aim that bad? Anyways, we should link up. Yep, seems good to me. All right, so the frogs hatched and I did successfully get them into the farm. However, the footage corrupted for that whole journey. So I guess enjoy this cute cinematic montage of me taking the frogs for a little journey. Alrighty, I think we've fixed the recordings and let's check the Froglights. Perfect. I think that's definitely enough for the build. Let's get out of here. So for the base of the build, we're going to need a ton of stony materials like tuff, cobblestone, mossy cobblestone, and andesite. Luckily for us, we already have a ton of those materials here, so we can get started on the build straight away. So I'm just going to get the base in now and then collect the rest of the materials later. All right, so I think I'm just going to go in with these blocks here and just alternate between them sort of randomly until we get this kind of corroded, mossy wall look. Guys, now is not the time. I really need to light up this area. Alright, let's try this again, shall we? Alright, I think that's probably high enough there. Let's have a look. Yeah, sweet. Oh, and that's going to look really nice with the green of the bamboo. Oh my god, okay. I'm excited for this build. Alright, I'm moving on to obtaining the green concrete now. I think we should have enough gravel and sand in here to make enough. Yeah, looks like we have a decent amount of gravel, but not a lot of sand. So I'm going to quickly go mine some of that up. Okay, honestly, I think that's enough. We really don't need that much. In terms of the cactus, it didn't grow that much, but I think it's going to be okay still. All right, let's go make some dye. Now we wait for that to smelt up. Okay, let's check on the dye. Done, 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 and done. Okay, let's chuck these in here just in case we need some more. All right, let's create all these materials. Green terracotta, check. That is all of the lime terracotta we need. And we have our green concrete powder, which I can turn into regular concrete later on. And I think we're good to go. I forgot to mention, but I also needed to craft up a few bits and bobs, mainly out of wood items. So enjoy this game-changing transition. All right, guys, are you ready for this sick transition? Boom. That was so lame. I'm sorry for keeping that in. Okay, that's the main chunk of the roof complete. Let's hop on the happy gas and take a look. Come here, bro. Ooh, yeah, I like that a lot. It goes really nicely with the bamboo. Now we can go in with our support beams and outline the entire build. Okay, so we're approaching the end of sort of putting in the support beams and the outline of the build. Let's take a look again. Yeah, nice. The color scheme is popping off. So I guess all we need to do is just add a few more details, touch things up a little bit, and then we can work on the interior. I was just about to begin detailing the build when something insane happened. I'll let you watch it first and then explain how I was half a second away from losing my entire world. Now you might be thinking, Shinjiro, you pop totems all the time. Why is this time so different? Well, let's rewind and take a closer look. So there I am, innocently trimming the bamboo when the first creeper explodes right in my face, popping my totem and putting me down to 1 base heart. Unbeknownst to me, a second creeper has snuck around the corner and has already begun priming. Extremely vulnerable and stripped of the insurance of an equipped totem, an explosion from this range absolutely ends the hardcore series and the world itself. That's when something incredible happens. Let's take a really close look at what happens next. When a creeper is ready to explode, it stops moving, primes for exactly 1.5 seconds or 30 game ticks, and then explodes. And as we can observe, given the white glow of the second creeper, it's primed and it's totally ready to end me. But it doesn't. Instead, it deprimes, redirects its path, and then reprimes, in which I'm given just enough time to jump away and equip another totem. But why? The trigger range of a creeper is 3 blocks, and we were 2 blocks apart, so it wasn't the range. So what was it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can confidently tell you that it was this single piece of bamboo. The single piece of bamboo that saved my 300-day-old hardcore world. In the panic of the first explosion, I frantically and completely coincidentally positioned myself so that the bamboo landed directly in the line of sight of the creeper, causing my hitbox to become unseeable to the creeper, hence why it redirected. And if we count the frames from when the creeper first began priming to when it redirected, it had half a second left before it blew up. This is even crazier when you consider that a bamboo is not even close to a full block, so the angle at which this had to be perfect is just unfathomable to me. So yeah, anyways, I have this thing to worship now for the rest of my life, and if you want to see the shrine I build for this thing, and trust me, it's getting one, subscribe so you don't miss out. It's free and it helps the channel so much. Alright, that is the decoration of the house done and all the details, I think. Oh my god. Damn, that looks so good. I'm very pleased with that. Let's get another angle. Oh. Guys, I think we did a pretty good job, if I do say so myself. Alright, looks good. I like it. Now I want to get working on the interior design and figuring out how to actually get the moss to flow through the river. But before I do either of those, I want to give the Happy Ghast a name finally, because it's been so helpful in making this build possible. It definitely deserves a name at this point. So let's grab one of the name tags we already have, and I'm going to go with Nimbus for the name of the Happy Ghast here. Nimbus being a type of cloud that forms naturally in the atmosphere, and also after Goku's trusty mode of transport in the Dragon Ball series. If you know, you know. Are you ready, Nimbus? Me and Nimbus taking on the world. So seeing as I can't stay on track with what I'm actually planning to do before doing the interior, I'm actually going to go in. That looks really cool actually through the window. I'm actually going to go in with these blocks here and install some pathways as well as some lampposts in the area so I don't get a repeat of almost losing my entire world. So let's spend some time on that. Alright, that's our first little taste of the pathway there, and honestly I like the color palette a lot. I think it's a pretty nice contrast to the green of the grass. It just makes the pathway pop out just a little bit more. Yeah, no thanks, not again. And I'm going to bring the pathway over this way and then build a little bridge to connect to the other side. That's the main sort of floor of the pathway done. Now I just want to go in with some foliage and details just to spice it up a little bit. I'm thinking we just plop these anywhere. And finally, so we're not fighting mobs every single nighttime, I'm going to install these lampposts here. Just some really simple looking ones so the area is lit up. Okay, that's all the lampposts in. I really like the way these look, especially at this time of day with the sun setting. And I'm going to add some little lampposts on the outskirts of the hill, and I'm also going to build the bridges to connect the two sides of the river. Okay, I think this looks all right. It's a little wonky, but it is what it is. I also built the bridge on the other side, but I totally forgot to hit record and the flashback didn't capture it either. So yeah, sorry for being stupid. Okie dokie, let's go in with the interior design now. I'm going to start with the floor first. I'm going to go obviously with the same kind of overgrown, run-down look. And then after that, I'll work on the rest of the interior design. All right, that's looking pretty run down. I'm just going to go in with some grass here as well, just to make it look extra overgrown. Okay, and then I want to start building the composting machine thingy, which is essentially what the guy who lives here uses to turn all of the moss into bone meal. Alright, so the interior is super messy and unorganized, which is kind of how I imagine the guy runs the place. Oh, I almost forgot. We're calling this the Bone Mealer 3000, pretty original. And with this garage basement-y thing complete, the Mossman of course needs a beautiful bedroom, so we're going to build the second floor bedroom now. Okay, perfect. And of course we need the Mossman himself to run the farm, so let's go get one. Okay, they should just head straight for the workstations. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, why not? There can be two Mossmen. Now that the main building is essentially complete, I can move on to creating the actual moss farm and also begin thinking about how I can transfer the bone meal to the tree farm. And miraculously, with the power of editing, I have all the materials we need here, so let's go build the farm. So we're going to build it underneath the hot spring, which is obviously the main water source. And I guess we just go directly in the middle here. And I'm going to need this area to be 5 by 15 by 15 blocks. 5 being the height, 15 being the width. So I'll see you guys when I've dug out this area, I suppose. Okay, that is our space excavated. So let's plop our stuff down in this corner and then just get straight to work, I guess. All right, the farm is done. So if I come down here and flick this lever, it should just start the farm. Oh no, have I broken it? Nope. Seems to be working pretty well actually. And all of the moss should trickle down into these 3 chests. Yep, we're looking good. So, you know how I said I wanted the moss to flow down the river? Well, I tried and I just couldn't get it looking how I wanted it to. And I promise, I really did try. I spent hours designing contraptions, testing different methods, and genuinely trying to implement this feature, but it just wasn't meant to be. So I'm sorry if I let you down on that one. At least we ended up getting the bone meal farm connected to the tree farm. So I suppose the last thing on our to-do list here is to link the bone meal farm all the way up to the tree farm through an item tunnel. So I'm first going to build like the item dispenser. Alright, perfect. That looks like it's working as it should. Now all I have to do is dig like a couple hundred blocks or so until we reach underneath the tree farm and then send them up through a bubble column to the storage chests at the tree farm. Alright, so we've reached where we need the bubble column to be, so I'm just going to go back through the tunnel and water everything up so the items can flow through. Alright, now that everything is set up, all we need to do now is build like a little contraption so the items can flow down into the collection hoppers. Alright, pretty simple. The items should just flow straight down into the hopper. I guess there's only one way to find out if it works, which is to test it. So if I flick this on, yep, okay, the bone meal should shoot out into the tunnel, and then we go check on it. They should be coming up in a sec. Yo, yep, there they are. Oh, okay, I might need to put a roof on that, but I mean, it works either way. I kind of like it without the roof, but I can sense some issues coming from that, so I'm just going to cover it up. And they should fall down into these hoppers, and the farm is ready for use. Now that we have our stunning moss house and a working tree farm, next episode we're starting the build I've been planning since day 1 of this world, and honestly, it's going to be insane. But in the meantime, you can check out last episode shown on screen now and subscribe so you don't miss out on future uploads. And of course, we have to shout out the new channel members. Thank you guys so much for joining the channel, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.